Peace, everybody. Back with another video. This is federal prosecutors subpoena material related to Andrew Cuomo's book in criminal probe over state nursing home deaths, reports say. Yeah, so we knew Andrew Cuomo was at it again. So now we got the federal prosecutors involved this time. And of course, here's the commie Cuomo of New York State, who does not care about anything except for himself and whatever else he's involved in. The U.S. Department of Justice has reportedly subpoenaed material related to a book that New York Democrat Governor Andrew Cuomo wrote during the pandemic as investigators continue their criminal investigation into coronavirus-related nursing home deaths. So now you got the U.S. Department of Justice. They reportedly subpoenaed material related to the book that Andrew Cuomo has wrote during the pandemic, but I call it a scamdemic, as investigators continue their criminal investigation into coronavirus-related nursing home deaths. Prosecutors working for the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York in Brooklyn asked for communications related to Mr. Cuomo's October 2020 book, American Crisis, including contracts and materials used to pitch the book to publishers. The People said the Wall Street Journal reported they said the subpoenas indicated prosecutors are interested in nursing home issues in the book, which more broadly recounted the governor's response to the pandemic. Yeah, so you got the prosecutors are working for the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York, and this is in Brooklyn. They're asking for communications related to Mr. Cuomo's October 2020 book, American Crisis. What American crisis is he talking about? There never was any American crisis. This whole pandemic was a scamdemic, a shamdemic, and everything else you want to think of. News broke back in February that federal prosecutors had launched a criminal investigation into the way that the Cuomo administration has handled nursing homes and other long-term care facilities during the pandemic. New York Attorney General Letitia James released a scathing report in late January that found that the Cuomo administration underreported the number of nursing home residents who died from the coronavirus by up to 50%. And so Andrew Cuomo was hiding the data, and now that they when the news broke out in February that federal prosecutors had launched a criminal investigation into Cuomo's death related for the nursing homes, because he put the elderly in the nursing homes to die. The ones who had the coronavirus, he stuck them into the nursing homes instead of letting them stay at the hospital or whatever. The Wall Street Journal reported in March that federal prosecutors were investigating a push by the Cuomo administration during the early days of the pandemic to shield nursing homes from lawsuits and criminal prosecutions. So Andrew Cuomo thought he could cover up all this, shield the nursing home deaths, but obviously now people are catching on to Andrew Cuomo because he didn't care, because he was trying to hide the data. Said, oh no, we don't have the data, this and that. A little too late now that the data has come out, because his administration has really done messed up this time. Nursing homes were included in a provision giving liability immunity to doctors, hospitals, and their executives, as well as healthcare workers on the front lines of the coronavirus outbreak last spring, surprising some lawmakers and healthcare officials, the report said. Federal prosecutors examination of how nursing homes came to be included in the immunity law is part of a broader probe into the Cuomo's administration's actions regarding nursing homes during the COVID-19 pandemic. So now Andrew Cuomo's really trying to hide things even more, but he can't no more because everything is coming out. Nursing homes were included in a provision given the liability immunity. So how is it possible that he's sticking nursing homes in for liable immunity? You can't do that. You are not allowed to stick nursing homes into immunity, liable immunity, because it doesn't work like that. And now that Andrew Cuomo is being investigated, he's got no choice but to have everything exposed and subpoenaed what these attorneys are doing and everything. The Guardian reported in May 2020 that Cuomo's political apparatus got a last-minute boost during his 2018 primary race from a powerful healthcare industry group, which suddenly poured more than $1 billion into a Democratic committee backing his campaign. So Andrew Cuomo had his political apparatus got a last-minute boost because of his campaign, and since this is his third term, which he shouldn't have, he had $1 million poured into a Democratic community backing his campaign. So in other words, he was scamming. The Guardian reported less than 2 years after that flood of cash from the Greater New York Hospital Association, Cuomo signed legislation last month quietly shielding hospital and nursing home executives from the threat of lawsuits stemming from the coronavirus outbreak. The provision inserted into an annual budget bill by Cuomo's aides created one of the nation's most explicit immunity protections for healthcare industry officials, according to legal experts. So Andrew Cuomo has signed a bill to keep these hospitals and nursing homes quiet. So they are not allowed to speak out at all. But you know that, I mean, why should they be quiet? They have a right to speak out. All right, so he's also nation's most explicit immunity protections for healthcare industry officials, according to legal experts. So he wants to keep the healthcare quiet. He wants to keep the hospital quiet. He doesn't want nobody to expose him. So he kind of figured, well, I'm going to sign this so these people can't say nothing about me. Well, too late. Critics say Cuomo removed a key deterrent against nursing home and hospital corporations, cutting corners in ways that jeopardizes lives, as those critics now try to repeal the provision during the final week of Albany's legislative session. They assert that data prove such immunity is correlating to higher nursing home deaths rating during the pandemic, both in New York and in other states enacting similar immunity policies. So Andrew Cuomo is taking his policies and he's using them as a weapon to cutting the corners in ways that jeopardizes lives, as the critics now try to repeal the provision during this final week of Albany's legislative session. And of course, correlating to higher nursing home death rates during the pandemic, both in New York and in other states enacting similar immunity policies. So it could be California, Pennsylvania, or wherever else that they're doing these policies as well. Federal prosecutors are also investigating whether Cuomo gave his brother, CNN host Chris Cuomo, Fredo, really, and other close associates priority access to coronavirus testing during the early days of the pandemic. So now we got the federal prosecutors are also investigating his brother, Chris Cuomo, which I call Fredo, and other close associates priority access to coronavirus testing during the early days of the pandemic. Cuomo is also facing investigations over allegations of sexual misconduct and his administration's handling of an investigation into broken boats on the Governor Mario M. Cuomo Bridge. So, Cuomo is also facing investigations over allegations of sexual misconduct, and of course 8 women had came out and told their story what he was doing. There's also an investigation into broken bolts on the Governor Mario M. Cuomo Bridge, which that should not be there, because somebody I know that I follow, she's really mad about it, about the bridge being there, and she said that the bridge should not be there. Governor M. Mario Cuomo Bridge. Yeah, I agree with that person that lives in New York City that is a ticked off mother, and she lives in Brooklyn, or the Bronx of New York City, and boy, she's not happy with it. But Cuomo is definitely in a lot of trouble for everything, including the sexual misconducts and Governor Mario M. Cuomo Bridge as well, because of the broken boats. And of course, Andrew Cuomo is not a likable person, and I can't even stand him because he's such a moron that can't even do his job, because he don't want to do his job. He wants to keep everybody locked up in New York State, so that's what he's doing. So nobody can do whatever they want to do, but he's going to be out soon, hopefully, because this is his 3rd term that he should not be having. 1 term should be enough, but 3, no, that's a little too much. Leave your comments below. I am out.